I haven't made it so abundantly clear, I love planning for stuff. Like, I'm so type A, not even just with finances, other stuff too. I mean, mainly with finances, but I'm also the type like, okay, we have to be here at 7. We have to leave at 6:30. We have to get up by 6. Like, I am a planner. But I do feel like it's super important to plan for things you have coming up, such as expenses, things going on for the rest of the year, like monthly especially, but sometimes I just like to see what is the rest of our year looking like? How can we better plan for these things? So I did, if you follow me on social media, you know I did make a video kind of briefly talking about some of the expenses we have coming up for the rest of the year. However, some of these things have already changed. And I like to talk more in depth about them, of course, because if you couldn't tell by now, I like to talk. First thing that I had planned for was an 8-year driver's license. This year my license is set to expire. So I wanted to get that out the way, get the new driver's license out the way. I actually just went today. I had planned for $100 just because I didn't know how much it was going to be. Planned for $100. Today it turned out to be $53.40, which is amazing. I did take my checkbook because no, I do not want to pay your almost 2% fee just for paying whatever it is. I will just pay with a check. Thank you. I don't get to use them anyway. The biggest thing that we've been planning for lately that you guys may already know about is medical expenses. Since I have been on leave, we have been getting these appointments out the way. That was actually kind of contributing to my stress when I was at work, but that was not the only reason, obviously. But that is one thing we've been planning for. We've probably had like at least 10 to 12 appointments in these past 11 to 12 weeks here. So, of course, everything else adds up. Obviously, it depends on your insurance. How my insurance works is that you have to reach your deductible before they start paying for stuff. However, they do give discounts if where you're going is in network. So I'm not 100% out of pocket, but a lot of it is my responsibility. Out of all those appointments, the running total pretty much came to $1,400. However, I have been looking at my insurance company's website. Like I have an account there, and that's where I keep up with just once things get submitted to them, what they're estimating I'm going to end up having to cover. And I want to know before the bill even comes, to be honest with you. And so I did see the cost for my son's appointment that he just had at the ENT, and then also the procedure that he just had, which I'll tell you guys about. It's going to be a pretty penny. But some of the cost was dental costs. I did get some dental work done, like I talked to you guys about a couple of weeks ago. My second appointment was yesterday. First of all, there's been some confusion, and oh my gosh, just thinking about this dentist office is like stressing me out. Long story short, I'm not going there anymore. Since July is when we started. Not going back. It is what it is. I'm glad for closure. However, in July, whenever we talked about me getting this dental work done, they have you sign off on dental work and this is what it's going to be, and sign here saying that you accept and understand that you are going to pay this amount. And I know some people say, oh, it's an estimate, and I get that, but don't have people sign off on a price saying this is what it's going to be. And I don't recall seeing that it was an estimate per se, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't remember. I don't really know. They don't send any confirmation, so I can't refer back to that. Anyway, so after my September 3rd appointment, they called me like a week later saying that we submitted this to your insurance and they're not covering what we thought they were going to cover. And I'm like, okay. I did give them feedback about that. Like, hey, maybe you guys shouldn't have people sign off on a certain price if it's actually not going to be that price, probably. Some type of disclaimer needs to be advised, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, they took the feedback. But at this point, it really doesn't matter anymore because I'm not going back. The point is that for that appointment, I had paid $250 and I expected that to be it. However, based off what my dental claim is saying, the dentist is appealing it, but if they don't, if I still have to pay it, it's going to be $600, which is like over 200% more than I was expecting. So more to come on that, I guess. For now, I paid $250. They haven't sent me a bill for anything else, but the appeal could take good 30 to 60 days. So whenever I had looked at the breakdown of my insurance, like for the last visit, it had said that for my fillings, I had paid $36 per filling, and I needed like 2 on this side and 1 on this side, and that's what I came for yesterday, was to get that last one. So I'm expecting it to be like 36 again, but I'm like, let me just estimate for 50. No, they said 90. And I'm like, okay. So I asked them about it, and they were just like, oh, that's because you're having a 1-step filling here, 2-step, whatever that means. I'm like, whatever, here's my payment. And I paid them the $90. So give or take, it's going to be like, it would be like what, 1,450 for the total medical expenses. However, I was like really looking at my insurance's website, looking at it a couple days in a row, and it did update how much it would be for the first ENT appointment, which was just when we went to get him checked out and they were trying to get the stuff out of his nose. That appointment was about $235 after any discounts or what have you. For the procedure, we literally had no idea how much it would end up being, but I looked at it and it is going to be out of pocket. We are going to owe $1,100. Obviously, I'm very happy my child is okay. That is the main concern. But it's also just like, oh my gosh, like if he was not stuffing stuff up his nose, stuffing stuff up his nose, that is $1,300 back in our pocket. Like, woo! Yeah, so definitely the best thing I could honestly come up with is literally this. Like, this is all I can think of. The only thing I can come up with is that it must be some part of this. Like, coming out of the pillows. I don't know, because I can't imagine what other type of cotton like substance would have been able to get up his nose. Truly. That's the best thing I can come up with. It's over now. I'm over it. Whatever. But it's going to take us some time to come up with $1,300. Luckily, my husband did pick up a shift, like I want to say last weekend. It's just money that you didn't expect to have to spend. But at the end of the day, I'm thankful that we always figure it out. That's the best thing that I can really say is that we figure it out and we have savings. Like I told you in that video, guys, we have stuff for a rainy day, for an emergency, what have you. So, worst case, we'll pull from the savings. But for now, I'm not expecting to have to do that. We always figure it out. Even in November, we have a third paycheck month or a three paycheck month, which you guys have heard me talk about. It just goes to show you this is the realness of it. This is the authentic version. It's not easy. Sometimes money's tight. Like we are not rolling in the dough. Sometimes things come up that we're going to have to pay for, and it is what it is. And yes, I'm going to try to call them and just see if they'll give any like pay in full discount, which I'm not banking on it at all. But the worst they could say is no. So we're going to try that. But that does take our $1,400 in medical expenses to $2,700 in medical expenses overall, with the $1,400 being the amount that we already have literally sitting in our sinking fund right now. So I'm thankful for that. Homeowners insurance, that did end up being $828 for 1 year. I literally paid that 3 days ago. Probably that was maybe like Sunday or something like that. So that is paid and we are good for another year. That money was also already sitting in our sinking fund. Another thing that we are planning for is Ring. Like we have 2 subscriptions coming up, which is Amazon Prime and Ring. I know someone asked me, like, if you spend more than 30, you get free shipping, but we don't just use Amazon Prime for free shipping. If you're someone who has Amazon Prime, you know that they actually give you a ton of benefits with it. One thing that we actually use pretty frequently, Amazon Prime, Prime Video, which Thursday Night Football is on Prime Video. Like there's just a lot of things that come with it that we do use and we do plan to keep using. So yes, that is $150 after tax and everything. We do also have a Ring camera subscription that we do the annual one. One thing about me, if you guys don't know, I like opting for annual stuff. Not only do I like not getting a bill every month, but then also a lot of places give you a discount for doing it annually. So I do want to keep checking into Ring just to see, like, is it something that we really want or need? I'm going to keep looking into it. And if anybody knows, if you have Ring, do they require you to have some type of subscription? If you have like all the cameras and the Ring doorbell, because I didn't see an option to just like opt out, but I'm going to keep looking at it to make sure it's something that we really need, just because that's what I do with our subscriptions. Like I like to make sure like, hey, are we still using this? Are we still using that once it's time and everything? I definitely think that everybody should do that. We did also plan for tires. Like my husband had his car looked at, I want to say like a good year ago, where they told us that it's almost time for tires, which honestly, at first I was like, wow, like we have almost never bought tires for this car, but I realized that actually we did either the year we got it or the year after, which would have been either 2016 or 2017. I'm very surprised that they have lasted this long. But I also remember that my husband really doesn't drive his vehicle that much. Like, he doesn't drive a whole lot. Like, he doesn't put a whole lot of miles on it. So at the same time, I shouldn't be surprised. But our local place had quoted us about $600 at least for tires. And then when I made the social media talk reel or TikTok talking about this. Someone said that they opt for Amazon for tires. For one, they bought tires and then just took it to their local place for like to save money. Someone else said that they buy it on Amazon and it gives you an option to send it to your local participating car place and they'll tell you how much it is for them to install each tire, which I did see that when I was on Amazon, that you could do that, which it was telling us about $50 per tire, like to buy the tires, which would be 200. And then it was saying like 25 to install each tire, which would be another 100, a total of 300. So that sounds like a decent amount of money saved. I am probably going to do that. Definitely, if you've tried that, let me know. The next thing is tags. So, renewing our vehicles. What we've decided this year is that we really want to renew our vehicle for 5 years for the first time instead of doing it annually. Like, obviously, the most common is just doing it like 1 year. I want to do it for 5 years this time. And anyone else, if you can relate, I feel like that year goes so fast from when you were renew your vehicle. Like we're set to renew it again in November for both of our cars for 5 years. It's $540. Not having to deal with it for 5 years would be amazing. $540 is what we need to come up with. Definitely need to start putting money aside for that. Another thing that I had forgot when I had talked about this on social media was that I also want to buy contacts by the end of the year. Like I've actually ran out of contacts. I hadn't been to the eye doctor in a while. I finally went in August or July. I think it was August. Finally got my prescription for them, like from them. Like I've been waiting on it, following up with them. Anyway, finally got it. The cost for 6 months of contacts is $170. The cost for a year of contacts is $330. So technically there is a little bit of a discount if you get the year one. Plus, if you get the year one, you can get a $75 rebate, which would put you at about $255, which is pretty good. Either I'll do that, that's through the eye doctor, or I do like to sometimes get a quote from like 1-800 contacts just to make sure that they don't have anything that's even more affordable. Definitely going to look into that. And then also, yes, Christmas by the end of the year, guys. It is September now. We've been putting money aside for Christmas pretty much throughout the whole year. That's usually how we'll do it. Right now, we have $500 sitting in there. Put aside another $100 and then October and then November, and then just try to have all the money by December. That would leave us with $800, which I feel like will be more than enough for kids. We really just don't like, we barely talk to a lot of our family. Like, we talk to our family every now and then, but it's very casual. I do like gift giving and we probably will give to some of our family, but not anything super significant. I expect $800 to be good. The only other thing I'm planning for the rest of this year is putting aside maybe a little bit of money for like credit card hacking, which I'll expand on that. So obviously if you're someone who can't do credit cards or doesn't do credit cards, totally get that for you. You know, if you're disciplined enough to use credit cards, one, two, use them in a way that's like strategic and you're trying to maximize your cash back. You know if that's you and you know if that's not you. I always say if you are paying interest on a credit card, you shouldn't be using them. But anyway, I'm not a financial advisor. You live your life the best way that you can. That's just my thinking when I help people with their finances. One of our credit cards that we use does do the 5% cash back once, like for different categories. Like they rotate it or they change the categories every quarter. And so starting October 1st, the categories are Amazon and Target. I don't expect, even with Christmas coming up in that category, I do not expect us to spend $1,500, which is the maximum that you can get the 5% for. Like spending $1,500 gives you $75 in cash back, and that's the maximum they'll do. I do not expect us to spend $1,500 on Amazon and Target over the course of 3 months, October, November, December. But of course, you do want to take full advantage if you can. So, what I have done before and what we may put money aside to do this year is basically buy a gift card from one of these places or both, whatever, once we're towards the end of the quarter and I can see and track how much we have left up to that $75, like for something that we know we are going to use. For example, Netflix. I know that we have a Netflix subscription once a month. That's about $16. If I get $100 gift card, that might last, I don't even know for certain, maybe like 6 months or something like that. If we can put aside $100 or use some of our sinking funds in the amount of $100, that gets us to the $75 maximum amount that they'll give you in cash back. And we're set on whatever type of recurring bill. We don't have to worry about it. We've done the most we could to get the maximum amount. So, with the other quarter being the Amazon and Target, there's a huge variety of gift cards you can get from mainly Amazon, some from Target. So, just depending on what we could use, we're pretty simple when it comes to credit cards. We have two, one being the Apple Card because we are Apple people and we use Apple Pay everywhere we can. They give double cash back for that. It's 2%. If we buy Apple products, which we are going to do, if you have Apple products, you're going to keep buying Apple products as the years go on. You get 30% back for that. 5% is like pretty much the best type of cash back that I've really seen. I will say some people talk about traveling and flights and stuff like that. It just doesn't make sense for us right now because we barely travel. But maybe in the future, if I really educate myself on is it really the best option, then I could look into that. But a lot of times I feel like these cashback cards, like they don't translate to a whole lot when you really do the math on it. So I just have to make sure it makes the most sense for us mathematically. And as long as it does, I'm open to it in the future. It really just depends. I've also said like my non-negotiables with credit cards is like if they charge an annual fee, I'm not doing it. Some people say, "Oh, but the benefits outweigh the annual fee." I don't really care because if I didn't have an annual fee, I'd have that much more benefits. Like it just to me, I just don't really I don't want to do that personally. But that is plans for the rest of the year. I think it's great to sit down and go through your budget and make sure what are you looking like for the rest of the year? Are you doing everything you can do to plan for the rest of the year? Like when Christmas comes, how are you going to pay for it? Are you going to finance it? Or do you have that money already sitting there? We just have to plan for stuff the best way we can to put ourselves in the best financial situation. We don't want to go into debt for things that we already knew were coming, or even if you didn't know it was coming, put some money aside for savings so you can really give yourself the best possible option for success. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to subscribe and see you later. Bye bye.